Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is John Paul Ryan. I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. Today, I'm going to talk about who is your favorite Game of Thrones character. And I got a special guest. His name is Johnny B. Crazy. And first, let's just hear what Johnny thinks about his favorite Game of Thrones character.
Thanks so much for having me, Entertainment Hacker. And without further ado, I'll get into my favorite Game of Thrones character, Arya Stark, the She-Wolf. First off, 9 to 11-year-old girl thrust into a situation where she has to become an adult. Uh, Her whole story is, in my opinion, the evolution of an assassin. And it starts off with the first scene we see her. She doesn't like needlework. And she hits the bullseye when Bran can't hit the target at all. It's it shows so much about her true character. And this scene with her and Jon when she gets Needle, the fact that they are both black sheep in the family, they're both outcasts. You know, Arya doesn't get treated as badly as Jon, but they both feel the same. You know, uh, Arya wants to be a knight. She doesn't want to be a lady. She defies the common dogma of what it means to be a woman in Westeros, and that's what I really like that she challenges that, and also you have to love her companions. She has so many great companions in Game of Thrones. Syrio Forel, one of my favorites, taught her the true seeing, being quiet as a shadow, quick as a snake. You know, fighting doesn't always come when your troubles aren't with you. Usually comes when your troubles are with you. I think that's a key scene there. And you know, how can you forget about the Hound and Arya? They had one of the greatest cinematic duos I've ever seen. The rapport with those two characters is fantastic. One of my favorite scenes isn't even where she's talking to the Hound. She's talking to the old man who's dying, and he's saying he's afraid of death. And she's like, nothing isn't better or worse than anything. Nothing is nothing. And truer words have never been spoken, especially by a young girl, a young woman, young person in general. There are so many scenes to where with the Hound and Arya, I could go on forever, but I love the scene where they find out her Aunt Liza's dead, and she just laughs her ass off because she didn't have an emotional attachment to Liza, but she does know that the Hound is in this situation and he's lost everything too. It's very ironic because he'd went all this way to get a ransom, and now he's getting nothing for Arya. And this is when she kind of realizes that he's just protecting her. That's why I think she doesn't kill him, which is another one of my favorite scenes when the Hound is begging her to kill him and she just won't. And you know, she took him off the list. As we know, she's got a list of people she's going to kill. And we'll go back now, she goes to the House of Black and White. And that's the whole point of her story, that the world isn't black and white, that it's gray. And that's what Arya is trying to figure out this whole time. After seeing the death of her brother, the death of, all of her family being killed, it was really hard for her to put it in perspective, and she's still doing it. That's the struggle with Arya. That's what I love. The Mirren Trant death, freaking awesome. He had to die. Uh, won't say much more about that, but it kind of segues into her revenge and for the Red Wedding, right? She feeds Walder Frey his sons, uh, and then kills all the male heirs. She leaves the females alive, but you gotta admit this was a crazy act. But after that, she has this really key scene with some Lannister soldiers, and she realizes that the Lannister soldiers are just following orders. And, also, the sparring session with Brienne has to be one of my favorite scenes. And in general, Arya as a character is one of the strongest lead characters I've seen, regardless of gender, without an actual love interest. That's how you know a character's strong, when they do not even need a love story. And to put it short and simple, that's why I love Arya Stark. Back to you, John.
Alright, I gotta give Johnny a big thank you for that. And you know what? This, again, is a pretty tough question. Because if you like Game of Thrones, then you know there's a lot of good characters. So it's hard to make a definitive choice. And for me, at first thought, I'm thinking Jon Snow is like just my favorite. And in a way, he is. But the thing about Jon is I really like his story. His story's great. It's epic. He goes from bastard to hero to king. But there's nothing very special about his personality compared to other characters. So for me, it's gotta be Tyrion. I mean, there's really nobody like Tyrion who just kind of does a little bit of everything. He's always got one up on everybody, and he's funny. I mean, he's just entertaining as well as being smart. I'll never forget that one line he said. I've read the books, but I can't remember if this line's in the books. Maybe one of you guys could fill me in. He says, "I drink and I know things. That's what I do." And that just kind of sums up his whole character so well. It's like, yep, he drinks a lot and he knows a lot about, you know, what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on with the people, and that was just great. At this point of time, Game of Thrones is not finished yet, so we don't have all the details in. And the thing about Tyrion is you can still theorycraft about him, unlike other characters where you know who they are. Like, for example, Cersei Lannister is a Lannister, she's Cersei Lannister, or Sansa Stark is a Stark, she's Sansa Stark, but there's still theories going around that Tyrion is actually a Targaryen, that there's a three-headed dragon, and he's one of the heads, and Jon and Daenerys represent the other heads, is what I mean. So, just, you could get so much out of his character, plus he's got this unique physical form, where he's this dwarf, and, you know, he's got a work around that in his life. And in the books, he's supposed to be, like, brutally ugly. He's kind of like the little Brad Pitt of dwarves, or little people, or however you say it politely in the show. But in the books, he's supposed to be pretty mangled up. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite Game of Thrones characters? Do you watch Game of Thrones? Because there are still people who don't. And I've heard that before, but I think it's worth talking about. It's a great show, and I also have a guitar riff to end this off by Ross Skywalker. So, please consider subscribing here, and I will give you the guitar riff right now.